I'll start with, when we talk about foreign education and we talk about the especially higher education from US or Canada, there are few things which are very important. And I just wanted to understand from everybody if they can write in the chat box what they are doing right now, which course they are pursuing, so that that's going to make my life easy in talking to you what all you need to do to make sure to get into a good university either in US or Canada or any other country. So please, I want everybody first to mention in the chat box they are in which class and what exactly they are looking for. So just mention fast so that we can start. Now, so when we talk about, okay, Parth has completed class 12th. Pranati Thakur has opted for bioscience class 12th. Others, please just mention fast. 11th grade bachelor's in physiology and biology, Sayed Raja. Next. Others, please mention fast, like what exactly you're doing. Yeah, Sakshi is in 9th standard, fine. Mm. First year engineering, Raj Thakur, yes. Raj, from which engineering college you are there? Can you mention your 11th, Abhinash Kumar? Xavier's, okay. And Abhinash Kumar is in 11th commerce. Fine. I think most of the people have started writing about. Shashank just mentioned that what exactly you're doing right now, the course. Now, as you all, like most of you are there in the school time or the first year of your engineering, that shows very clearly that you have got a very good chance. Like somebody who is in first year of engineering can always go for a transfer case to America after 2 years if they want to go, or otherwise they can go after completing their engineering, writing the GRE, and then joining a good university for MS program. So both the options are open for the engineering background student. Those who are in 11th and 12th grade, they are very much open to go for undergrad program. Shashank is pursuing bachelor's degree in psychology, sociology, okay, fine, forensic psych and criminology. Good field, Shashank, because a lot of scope in these areas nowadays. I think these are the courses which are going to be, leading courses in the world in coming years. So psychology, especially, is going to be at the forefront, and you are in a good course that way. And which year you are in, Shashank? Which we can you mention the year also? Which year you are in the degree year? So now, when I'm talking to all of you and looking for the opportunity in US, there are two ways you can go for. You can go for your undergrad program by writing the bachelor's exam like SAT and ACT. A lot of universities have waived it this year, but still, like after 2022, I'm very sure the most of the universities will again ask for SAT or ACT to get into the undergrad program in America. And to get into the grad program, especially the PG program, you need to write your GRE, whether you write it in third year of your engineering or your bachelor's degree or final year of your bachelor's degree, hardly makes any difference, but write as soon as possible so that that score is going to be useful in getting the good admission out there. Now when we talk about American and Canadian universities admission process, the process is very simple. The entrance exams, if you are there going for undergrad, then the entrance is going to be SAT or ACT. If you're going for graduation, that is PG program, then your exam is going to be GRE. And TOEFL is compulsory. TOEFL as well as uh, your rest of the process is going to be same. Like in undergrad as well as the grad, there are five important factors. The first is your test scores. If it could be ACT or SAT or GRE, depending on whether you're going for undergrad or PG. Then TOEFL is must, whether you're going for undergrad or going for a grad program. Test of English as foreign language is must. In lieu of TOEFL, you can even write IELTS, International English Language Testing System, which is out of 9 bands. To get into a good American or Canadian university, you need to get at least out of 9 bands in IELTS, at least 6.5 or 7 bands. And in TOEFL, out of 120, you need to get at least 92 marks out of 120. So then you are safe with the good university, because most of the universities, they have got a minimum criteria for TOEFL and IELTS. GRE as such, no criteria when you're looking for the master's degree, and when you're looking for the bachelor's degree, SAT or ACT, there are no criteria fixed for them. Better the score, good the chances to get into good university. The first factor is that. Second factor is going to be your academic performance. What exactly you have done in your school and college, that matters a lot. And it's not directly a percentage that is going to be very important for them. Percentage is one part of it. The most important part is uh, your academic rank in your class. For example, are you there in a top 10 of your class, or top 15 of your class, or top 20 of your class? That matters a lot in America. Even if you are from a average college, but you are a topper out there, that makes a big difference while getting admission in one of the good universities. So that is the one of the factors which is very, very important. Then comes the third factor, which is your statement of purpose or the set of ACs. For PG program, you need to write a statement of purpose, why you want to pursue that course, what all you have done till date in that direction, and what exactly you're looking forward from the course, and what you're going to do post that course once you complete that course. So they really expect 500 words to somewhere around close to 1,000 words statement of purpose from the student. And the same time, for undergrad, they need the set of essays to be written out there. One particular essay will not work. There are going to be a number of questions, and you have to answer each and every question for the different university, and that is going to be your SOP or essays, which actually that carries a lot of weightage in American and Canadian admission system. I'll definitely discuss that also later on. Then comes your letter of recommendations. You are supposed to take your recommendation letter from your profs, those who have taught you in your school or college, or those who are still teaching you when you're while you're pursuing the course out here in India, or whichever country you are from. So that particular LOR you need to take from the three different teachers, or suppose you have done some internship in a company, you can take from your mentor out there in that internship, during that internship. So that also can work. So three LORs are must. Two can be faculty members LOR, and one can be a industry internship LOR. If you have not done any industry internship, then you need to think about uh, directly a faculty LOR, even the third one also, which is going to be faculty LOR. So letter of recommendation is very, very important. Last but not the least is your extracurricular activities. Why you really want, what exactly you have done apart from your regular academics. If you have, suppose you are part of a team which is helping out in some social work, or you are a part of a team which is doing some activities post the college or school time. So those activities also matter a lot when you go to the US university, because those all things should come in your essays or in your statement of purpose, whichever exam you are appearing in. Now, the factors, if you talk about, there is no fixed criteria from the university side that we give this much weightage to this particular exam scores or this much weightage to SOP. There is no fixed criteria. But what I have observed in the last couple of years is, I think I have counseled more than 3,000 students. What I have observed in the last couple of years, uh, most of the universities, they give 45% to 50% around weightage to the your test scores. It could be SAT, it could be GRE, it could be ACT and TOEFL and or uh, IELTS. So compulsory is these test preps, and the weightage of these test prep exam scores will be not more than 45%. Average, I'm talking about 45 to 50, but 45, 47% around is going to be the weightage of it. Then comes your statement of purpose or the set of essays. That actually is most important, the most critical element in your entire admission process. How you're going to write those essays or statement of purpose, I think that matters a lot. The quality of that writing, the understanding what you have really achieved, your achievements, and what you're looking forward for. All these things, properly designed, drafted, will definitely attract good result from the universities, and the weightage of that is close to 35-40%. So I think immediately after the exam scores weightage, the most important is going to be your TOEFL and sorry, your essay writings, SOP and essay writing score. Then comes your letter of recommendation. The weightage of LORs is going to be 10 to 12% around. So that also matters a lot for the university. The professor whom you are taking your LOR, what kind of LOR they are drafting, If they are not drafting, then who is helping you in drafting those LORs? These things really, really matter when you are looking for a good university in US. So letter of recommendations. Then comes extracurricular activities. What all you have done apart from your studies? Like any music competition you have won, or let's talk about you have done some social welfare work or some other kind of work which is very, very unique and its own. Those things also matter a lot because that can help you out and telling them, conveying them the message that okay, fine, I was really occupied with everything, and after that also I've really done good in my career. So that matters a lot. So these are the 5 factors which are important. When you talk about the universities, the normal process is they give you admission in 2 different sessions. One is fall, other one is a spring. Fall session normally starts in August around every year, and spring session starts somewhere in January. Most of the universities, they have got deadlines for the university applications, and they actually have the deadlines which are going to be 7 to 8 months before the session will start. For example, if you are looking for the January deadline admission for this is spring admission, then you need to get your score and everything before May of that particular year, because if you're looking for next year January, then before May of this last year, which is very, very important for you to complete your exam process and the admission process, because every admission process is not only the exam result. I have already told you the other factors which are involved in that. So you have to write your SOP, your essays, series of essays. So it's a time consuming process, and most the universities have got their own deadlines. Beyond deadlines, if you're sending something, then chance of getting admission will be very low, and as well as chance of getting scholarships bare minimum. So it's always advisable to send your application within the time frame, whatever the university has given on the website. And within the time frame, if you're going to send your application, if application is really good, then you have got very good chances to get scholarships or assistantships, which can save money and can reduce your uh, fee dependency uh, on banks or parents to a large extent. So that is also something very, very important here. So fall and spring, as I've told you, 7 to 8 months before that session. So if it is fall session, then you have to send applications by December, January. If it is January session, then by May, June of the last year. So that is how the admission process is spring and fall. Now, how to select universities? That is also one of the very important factors. Now it depends on which course you are looking forward for and which are the good universities, and are you looking for a metro city university or looking for a suburb university? Because if you are looking for a suburb university, the quality of university may be same like a metro city university, but the cost of living and everything will cut down by 30-40%. So that also is something which Indians look forward for. So why don't I go to a semi-urban or a small area, suburb area, where I can have a education at a low price as compared to a top city, which is uh, very costly because of the city cost and other costs involved out there. Because the rent and everything, even the land cost and the infrastructure cost, everything is going to be more in a city kind of environment, and everything is going to be less in the suburb kind of environment. So it's always advisable to look for the universities which are in suburbs, and they can be low cost as compared to the very higher cost, unless until you are really interested in investing that heavy cost, which is going to be there for the metro city universities. So that is also one of the factors while selecting the universities. Then of course, which particular course you are going for, then what all department has accomplished in that particular course. That also matters a lot, because the university department's value system is very, very important for you to get admission out there. For example, I'll give an example out here. Harvard is a university, but it's famous only for their Harvard Business School, which is one of the topmost schools in the world. The MBA program out there, their flagship program. But it's not like that. Harvard University doesn't have the other departments. They have got Department of Engineering, they have got Department of Humanities, they have got every kind of department out there. But they are more famous because of Harvard Business School. So at times you have got the universities, selection of university. That's the reason I'm saying very, very important, because at times the university ranking is very high, but in your department it's not that good. So selection of university, keeping in mind all the other factors, is the most critical component, the first critical component. So if you're looking forward for that, then you have to be very, very clear about that. Most important, I'm saying that. Now, so one is like which part of the country you are looking for. Second is going to be which course you are looking for. It's not like that if you are pursuing some course in India and you want to pursue the same course, you have got an option to even switch over to the other courses where you have got a background. If you don't have a background, you have got interest in that area, because that also is something which they give a lot of value. The universities give a lot of value to that also. If you can get into a program which you are interested in, or if you have done something in that particular program in past, and because of that you got inclined towards that particular program, be it a computer science or be it psychology or sociology or medical field or biotechnology. So you can think of that also. So that is the now when I'm talking about all these things, because I don't want to give it in a one short presentation. I'm taking you all guys one by one with every aspect of the admission process, so that will help you a lot in taking the decision out there. Now, when you talk about the admission, as I've told you, the program, the selection of university is important. The selection of program is very important, which I have recently mentioned. The program of your interest, that matters a lot. What you have done in that particular field. If you have not done anything in that field, so how you are inclined towards that particular field, you need to justify that thing, and that matters a lot in American and Canadian university. Then comes the next thing, which is there and very important, is how you're going to finance your education. How you're going to get your visa and how you're going to finance your education. Now, when you talk about once you get admission letter from the university, in American case, they say I-20, otherwise the rest of the places it's admission letter only. So once you get your admission letter from the universities, you can go to the banks to get some loan if you really require that loan. And the loan also, the SBI is one of the topmost banks in India, and other banks are there in other countries, the flagship banks. Most of the flagship banks in the different countries have got a list of universities for whom they can easily give loans, because they know the reputation of those universities. But if you are not there, if your university is not there in the pool of their universities, then it becomes very difficult to get loans from those banks. That's the reason I think we really take care of in during the counseling part, which university you should go for, so that the loan availability should also be there. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to finance the entire education. That is something very important. So we have to be very careful about that also. The next thing which is there is, most of the universities, they give a lot of scholarships and research assistantship or teaching assistantship to the students, and especially to the PG students who are looking for the graduate programs in America. You can have an option to get some kind of assistantship from a university. What I mean by assistantship means you will get something every month, maybe $1,000, $1,200 a month, and same time you will have fee waiver. You don't have to pay your entire fee of the university education. So that means one side you don't have to pay any fee, and second side you are getting some money per month. In lieu of that, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to give your 20 hours a week. That means almost 2 to 3 hours a day. If you are working as a research assistant with the professor, then on research projects. If you are working as a teaching assistant in the department, then as a teaching assistant to the undergrad students, or you're a copy evaluator out there to check the copies, or you are the one who is going to invigilate the exam. So you can be there in different roles out there, administrative roles out there. But end of the day, if you're qualified for those assistantships, then definitely your tuition will be waived completely. You don't have to pay a single penny for your higher studies in America and Canada. But at the same time, they will give you monthly money also, which will help you a lot in surviving there, and it's a good money. So assistantship is very important. It could be teaching assistantship, research assistantship, or graduate assistantship. As a teaching assistantship, that means every week 20 hours you need to teach undergrad students, or you have to evaluate their copies. Next 20 days or 25 days, so you're getting some kind of, every week you're supposed to give that 20 hours. So every week is, like, say 1 week, then after that there are going to be 3 more weeks or 4 more weeks there in that month, depending on which month you are there in. Every month, every week you are going to get that amount. So you have to spend every week 20 hours doing some administrative job, or helping the professor in the research work, or helping the department in teaching and evaluation. And they say the position name is either a teaching assistant or a research assistant or a graduate assistant. So you become these kind of assistants. Undergrad students, first 2 years difficult to get these kind of assistantship, but from third year you are also open to get these assistantship, because then you will be also positioned to teach the first year, sophomore year students out there as a teaching assistant, or to help your professor in research work, because you have already done 2 years of coursework, so you understand the subject very well now. So that is for the undergrad students. Otherwise, they have to spend money for the first 2 years. And I think different countries have got a different loan policy, and as well as the university scholarship policy. You have to check with your country system also, which I can check with you once I know that which country you're from, so that you can easily get some kind of assistantship out there in America. And if it's not in first year, then maybe in second year, not in first sem of grad program, maybe in from the second sem you can get that particular option. So that is going to be the assistantship, which is very, very important in America. Now, when I talk about why people should go to US and Canada, why not to other countries, I've got my own specific reasons behind it. I think otherwise there are so many good countries. Singapore has got a good education system, UK has got a good education system, Australia has got a good education system, but I still prefer US and UK, US and Canada. Reasons are very, very simple out here. There are very limited universities in these countries which are very famous across the globe. For example, if you talk about Singapore, there are two good universities. One is NUS, National University of Singapore, another one is uh, Nanyang Technology University, NTU. So these are top two universities of Singapore. And if you are there in any of these two, then you have got good chances to get a good job after completing your course. And if you're not there in these two universities, if you are there in a lower rank university, you have to struggle. Because initially getting a job will be a struggle kind of thing. But after a few months of working, you can settle down. So that is also one of the options. And that is how I can say that the universities give a lot of space to you, and they really want you to be there. And essay writing or the SOP writing is something which you can even take help of the consultants and the counselors. They can guide you how to write those SOPs or LOR. They can give some draft to you. On the basis of that, you can improve your LOR and SOPs, and that matters a lot when you talk about the US university. As I've already told you that 35-40% weightage is there going to be there for these factors. Now, I think I've just given you the brief about things. I am more interested to know if you have got a specific question, so that I can answer them those questions and we can get more understanding about the topic which is following. Please ask your questions in the chat. Anybody, please ask the questions in the chat box. So many of you are there. Yeah, predicted report card is going to be, Pranati, are you in 12th standard or 11th? My question is there, can you please elaborate on predicted report card? Yes. So predicted report card is because your 12th exam results will not be out by the time you are applying to the university. As I already told you, for July admission, July, August, that is fall admission, you need to send your application by December, last December, is the year which was before that. So now imagine you're going for July and you have to submit your application by December. You don't have a 12th score report with you. So what they do is, most of the universities opt for common application. There is an application called common application. Most of the universities opt for that one. Now there are other applications also, coalition and universities. It's specific applications or the state specific applications like Texas and other places. So the counselors, those who are there in your schools, they are supposed to upload their predicted report based on your pre-board, based on your last 10th and 12th, 11th percentage performance. Like what happened this year with the 12th class. I think government has given the predicted report card to everybody, which is final report card, because they were not in a position to conduct the exams this year for the 12th because of pandemic. But in case your regular exams are going to be there, after March you'll definitely get a result, but they ask and they expect that the counselor can tell them a predicted report card of yours based on your last performance, last few years performance, what exactly your potential is and how much you can achieve in 12th grade. That is predicted report card from the counselor of the school. So Kwinder has asked a question, what about 1 year postgraduate program in Canada? Is it worth? I'll tell you, All depends on which university you are looking for, because the program is not important, the universities matter a lot. For example, I live in India, even if you are going for a civil engineering or chemical engineering to to IIT Bombay, I think that is much better than going to a lower college with computer science also, because that college matters a lot. So, Sukhwinder, if it is hospitality also, if the university is better one, then it's good. Otherwise, these programs are not worth, because a lot of community colleges are there in Canada, and a lot of low rank universities are also there, and going to them doing any program is not worth. It's a waste of money at the end of the day. If the idea is to settle down there or get some Canadian citizenship or something like that, then you can try for it. But I doubt, because now they're very strict even to offering the PR also based on the university that you have done your education from. So if you are from a lower rank university, then I think chance of PR is going to be very low. Whichever program you are in, you wanted to go for hospitality, you want to go for engineering, any program, go to a good rank university by clearing the good exams. That matters a lot. So anybody else, any question, they can ask in the chat box. I am there to answer. I think few people have really asked the question. Extracurricular can be there from 9th onwards if you are there going for undergrad program, and extracurricular if the entire undergrad if you're looking for a PG program in those countries. So in your case, Pranali, it's going to be 9 to 12. What have you done? How many Olympics you have won? What kind of social work you have done? What kind of working you have done in the other places? That matters a lot. Everybody, I'm expecting questions from them. If they have got any question, they can ask me. I think Sayada, Shreya, Varsha. Sukhvinder, I can suggest you a lot of universities out there in Canada for PG for hospitality, but I don't have your background right now. I don't have your education background and everything. So what I would say is, you can always talk to me one-to-one, talk to my team members. They can arrange your call with me on a one-on-one basis, and then I'll discuss with you, understand your profile, and then I can suggest you the university. Because it's not like that the best university is Harvard, and then you don't have a profile to get into that, for example. Then no point discussing that university. So the most important thing is going to be based on your profile, which one you can have. Uh, Pranati, you don't have to attach in CV because it's a predicted score by the counselors. You cannot mention it in CV. You can mention your rest of these results in the CV, but not the 12th grade, which you have not appeared till date. So the only thing which you are supposed to do with that is going to be the counselor's report, and your CV should be a very clear-cut CV talking about you as a person and what all you've done before that. Maths is required, like maths is required for psychology undergrad. No, directly it's not required, but there are few courses of math, basic courses of maths and statistics which are required. So even if you have not done it in your school, you can go for it and you can opt for those extra papers out there, and they will be counted as a credit hours counted for the degree program. So don't worry about that. Very basic maths and very basic statistics, few universities always ask for when you talk about psychology undergrad. Sukhvinder, I think Sanjay will help you out in the chat box to give you an email ID where you can talk to us, or the number. If Sanjay is available, Sanjay can write the number and give it to Sukhvinder so that he can touch base with you over the WhatsApp. Sanjay, can you put your WhatsApp number out here in the chat box? Sanjay from Careernomics team, just put your WhatsApp number out here in the chat box so that Sukhvinder can contact you on a one-on-one basis. Any other question from anybody else? I am there to answer the question. Epic, I don't know the name Epic, it's written over here, but does international curriculum like IB or IGCSE have more credibility for universities? Answer is no. That can be an added advantage, but that is not going to give you any extra advantage if you don't have the other factors, as I'd already discussed, the admission factors out there. So don't worry about it. If it is UK university, definitely your IB course can help you out. But for US and Canada, this international curriculum will not help you getting a good university, but that will definitely help you in understanding the system of education out there. That's the reason I think even a CBSE board student is performing very well in the undergrad and getting good universities. I think my so many CBSE students have got into the top rank universities out there. Sanjay, if he's there, he can just put his WhatsApp number over there. Sukhvinder wanted to connect. Sanjay, put your WhatsApp number. Sukhvinder wanted to connect you in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, there is a question from a fellow, Veda Vyas Kurumanchi. How to pick the right university? You know, the right university, how to pick is very simple. All depends on your test scores, all depends on your academic performance, all depends on what exactly you want to do in that university, which program you're going for, what is the background in that program. Those all factors really matter when you're choosing a right university, because there is no other factor. Because right university, what do you mean by right university? Right university is a university which is better or best for you as compared to the other students, because every university cannot be good for everybody. Yes. I hope Veda Vyas Karumanchi, I think I've already explained, answered this question. Anybody else, any question, they can ask me immediately. Varsha and so many others are there available. They can ask me the questions. Ishan, Parth, Pranati has already asked. Abhinash, all the others can ask me. Sweetie, Syed, Varsha, so many of you are there. You can ask me the questions if you have got anything. I'm there to answer you in the chat box. Just put the question in the chat box. I'm there to answer you that question, because a lot of students actually, get distracted by wrong counseling or wrong guidance. So I think very important is to get a correct guidance so that you know about it. Yeah, liberal arts is one of the good programs, and I think in America, if you talk about, there are community colleges and universities like we have got in other countries like India and other countries. But there are few community colleges which are very, very famous for liberal arts. And if your background is good, they will easily give you admission. Like McKenna is one of them in US, which is very famous for the liberal arts. And liberal arts is, something which is, at this moment in vogue, because people are really interested in going for liberal arts, because you get an opportunity to select your courses after 2 years of your undergrad program. So you get an opportunity to learn so many subjects in first 2 years of your undergrad, and after that you can choose one of them, and that matters a lot. So I think that is something very important for liberal arts. And after completing a course of liberal arts undergrad program, you can go for a graduation in any field, whichever you want to choose. And if you are inclined towards a particular thing, after second year you can choose that subject in your undergrad program also, and take more and more courses from that side. So liberal arts is more about giving you the liberty in first 2 years to to study as many subjects as possible, and after that, once you take a decision after 2 years, okay, fine, I was undecided, so that's the reason I opted for liberal arts. Now I've decided I want to pursue in this direction. So that matters a lot. McKenna is a top ranked university school out there in US for liberal arts, but there are so many other universities and colleges, community colleges, those are doing very good in that. Now, with Vyas, like 20 years on data science and analytics, to be very honest and very precise, it's too early to predict 20 years, especially when the world technology is changing very fast. But I'm very sure that if you understand the data science and data analytics at this moment, and if you do a course out there in that field, then whatever changes are going to come, whatever new softwares are going to come, you can easily digest those things, and you can make sure that you, every time a new thing comes in that particular field, you can upgrade yourself with that thing. So the good thing is you need to get a good university degree in data sciences, and then you can think about it. One of my students, she has recently joined one university for data science MS only. So that is also one thing very, very important. Then somebody is looking for, Varsha is looking for MBA. Now the problem with MBA is you need to have a 2 year full-time work experience before you apply for the MBA program, because most of the universities in America and Canada, the top ranked and good universities, they ask for 2 years experience after your undergrad program Based on that, in the GMAT score, instead of GRE, the score exam will be GMAT. TOEFL is going to be common, TOEFL or IELTS, whichever exam you want to qualify. And instead of GRE, which is there for MS program, for MBA it's going to be GMAT out of 800. GMAT is out of 800, and you need to get very good score above 700 or close to 700 to get into a good MBA program. And but that for getting into that thing, 2 years work experience after your graduation is must. What you're doing, Varsha, right now? Which course you are pursuing? Sayed has asked, how is the scope for jobs? Liberal arts, I think I've already told you that you have got good scope because you can enter into any field because you have studied a variety of subjects in first 2 years of your liberal arts program, and then you are choosing your interest course. So you can easily get a good job in that particular field. So I think that's a very good scope when you talk about the jobs. Varsha is doing BTech, which program, Varsha, BTech from which branch and which year? Abhinash has asked a question, American Canada UG program in commerce. Yes, of course, they have got BS, the Bachelor's of Science in, okay, Varsha is in 2020-24. So she is in first year of her engineering, great. And Varsha, if you mention your college name also, that will be a great help to me to understand. And even if your first year CGPA, if you've got, that is going to help me a lot. So computer science, you talk about, and you're looking for MBA program after 24, you're supposed to work for 2 years, and then in 26 you are eligible to apply to a good MBA program. Instead of that, what normally people do is they go for MS in finance, MS in marketing, MS in business analytics immediately after their engineering, and they get into a good university for their MS program, which is 1.5 year program instead of 2 years program, and they get more or less good opportunities in the corporate sector. So I think if you want to save time, go for your MS program in business analytics, marketing, finance, mathematical finance, or if you are really interested in your own field called computer science, then I think that is wonderful field at this moment in the world. So you have got very good opportunities in computer technology. Avinash, as I've told you that key American Canada UG program in commerce, yes, they have got a BS program in management. They have got a programs like accounting. Accounting is something which is very, very famous out there. And if you do a UG and PG in accounting field, then job opportunities are very stable, very stable. So that is there. So commerce also they have got very good UG programs. Any other question from anybody? Big data, very good opportunities in California and US. Vedi Vyas, if you can do a good program in data sciences or DBMS and all those areas, then big data, you have got very good job opportunities in the Silicon Valley. So rest assured. Ishan, there is no fixed rule that which university provides. All the universities provide scholarship and financial help depending on your background, depending on your profile. So it's not like that there are few universities providing the scholarships or financial help and few are not. No. So many of them are providing. We have to search the university where more funding is available because a lot of professors get NSF grant, National Science Foundation grant to work with the student and they give scholarships to the students. So you have to search those things. There is no fixed rule kind of that this university is providing more of that university. All depends on the professors, how they're getting the funding from the different international organizations or the national organizations. By the way, Ishan, you are in which year of your engineering and when are you targeting to go to US? Oh, you are in 12th. So I think you need to go for the undergrad program. Then first 2 years, no scholarship, no financial help, but after 2 years, they start giving them based on your first 2 years performance and profile. Anybody else? Any question? Abhinash, you can get admission in UG program in America. You have to go for SAT exam, as I told you, or ICT, American college test, or the SAT. SAT is around so even if you're from Philippines, you have to write the same SAT or ACT exam if you're looking for undergrad program, and if you're looking for the grad program, you have to write either GRE or GMAT, depending on you're going for MS or the MBA program. America has got the best liberal arts program, Sayed, and if you see the cost wise, Canada is little cheaper as compared to America, but the best programs are available in America, especially for the liberal arts. Canada is a little bit cheaper. They also have got very good programs. I'm not saying comparing it that way, but if you seriously compare on one-on-one basis, then American few schools have got better programs. Otherwise, Canadian schools also are very good. If you compare it from the Asian universities, they have got very good. So Avinash, you have to write either SAT or ACT to get into UG program. Along with that, TOEFL or IELTS. Then you have to write the set of essays that they ask in the admission process. Whether you are applying through Common App or Coalition or whichever way direct university admission process, but you have to ask certain set of questions which they ask you, and then letter of recommendations you are supposed to take from your teachers and professors and academic performance. All these factors clubbed together, you can get admission in UG program in America. Any other question from anybody? I'm happy that students are asking questions and I'm there to help them out with that. If you're looking for a TA-ship or research assistantship, as I told you, the teaching assistantship, you are supposed to work every week 20 hours. Either you are evaluating the copies of the students or you are solving their doubts, the doubt solving classes you are taking care of, or if you're a PG student or a PhD student, then you might get a course to teach an undergrad program. That is how the teaching assistantship works. Research assistantship is more about you are helping the professor in their research work, because a lot of professors have got industry research work which they have taken and they need support of the students who's going to help them out in the research project. So they give you the RA ship. If you are a TA or RA, official TA or RA, then chances for getting that is depend on your profile and how enrich your profile is. I think that is what my job is, to enrich the profile of the students so that they can get a scholarship or assistantship. I'm happy to say that we have got 75 to 90% of our students, those who have got assistantship either in a TA or RA form in last 10 years. So something very, very important, because we do it in a one-to-one basis and seriously help them at every stage. Student is school profile. A school counselor has to update about what kind of school, from which year that school started. So brief about that school, which particular board they are into, and then your predicted report cards and their own recommendation of the counselor. That is what they need to upload out. Anybody else? I'm just waiting for more questions to come so I can answer them and then we can close the session. Yes, Epic SOP and essays. Just wanted to know, as you told me that you are from. Just need to scroll up. Statement of purpose and the essays depends like which, because most of the universities ask for a single statement of purpose for the MS program, but for BS program they ask you a lot of questions and you have to answer them. That means a set of essays, why you want to pursue this course, when exactly you faced any ethical dilemma in your life and what you did to come out of it. So many questions and you have to answer them out. So that is what is going to come in SOP and essays. It's a set of questions, you have to answer them, and few questions are based on your personality, your profile, your educational background, and few are based on your thinking and thought process. Any other question? No. Wayfair's visa is not hard at all. This is a misconception in the minds of people. If your paperwork is proper for the visa, then nobody can stop you getting a visa out there in US for the US. So nobody can stop you in getting visa for the US. So I think it's not very hard for the masters to get visa. No, sorry. Good grades means like if they're in a percentage system, that it should be 80% plus. if you're in a CGPA system, out of 10, then you have to have 8.4 plus. If you are there in a system where you have got the entire GPA calculated on the basis of 4, then you have to have 3.2 plus. Americans follow the 4 grade system, 4-point grade system, so you have to have plus. Mm, yes, A level and O level, if you talk about, then you have to have a good, like anything above 85%, because they have got most of the universities give you the calculator point also out there. Whereas you have got very good chances if you have got experience of 1.5 years on MI and ML and AI. If you understand machine learning and AI, and if you're really worked in that direction for 1.5 years, then you've got very good chances to get assistantship out there in America. That is what they prefer in a profile, those who have worked in the areas of interest or done something in the area of interest. So you have got good chances that. But you have to have your essay writing and everything very proper to get into good university. So I think already my team member has put his number out there. You can contact him and we can take it forward from there. Yes. This 1.5 year work experience in ML and AI can help you around. Any questions from others? So that we can close the session if you don't have further questions. If you have got further questions, I'm there to answer you. Waiting for 2 more minutes to get more questions. Otherwise, we'll wind up the session. You already have got my team member's number, which is there available in the chat. If you scroll up, you can get that number. You can be in touch with us one on one. If you don't have a question right now, you can ask us personally the questions, and then we'll help you out. Yes, very different workplace culture in US as compared to India. You get more opportunities to learn. You have got very good learning environment, and you have got like really good uh, learning out there in the companies. So I think US has got a very different approach that. MBA in Germany is not very good option. It can be a good. I'm saying it can be an option, but the only thing is you have to learn that language also if you are looking for a job out there in that country. Otherwise, coming back from there, especially doing MBA, you have to work hard to get a good job. So I think MBA in Germany, I won't say is a good option. But if you're looking for MS in automobile engineering or some other field, then Germany can be a good option because they're very strong with automobiles and other sector. But MBA, I think that's not a good place to go. That except either one or two good universities, but not all the universities. So I won't think Germany is a good option for MBA. Is any other question? I have answered so many of your questions and doubts. If you have got further questions, you can contact us on the number given in the chat box. You just scroll up, you'll get the number, and you can have one-on-one conversation with us. We are there to help you out. We are there committed to help the students and to give them opportunities in good universities, maybe for PG program or a undergrad program. So all the best to all of you and be in touch. And thanks to all for attending the session. So then you can see the chat box and you can always be in touch with us on the WhatsApp number or the phone. We have a one-on-one session which is separately, and you can come with your parents also, we can discuss out. So yes, France, French, that's a good thing. But psychology and other fields, France is not that good option. France has got one very good MBA program which is there in INSEAD France, and HEC Paris is also very good for the management programs. But psychology, I still recommend go to US only, because there the better schools are there, better universities are. If you know French, then you can always work as a teaching assistant or other things in a French department of the international